really short, so can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks a bunch. I'm really happy I got invited to come out here to this. I'm really excited. It's the first time in Kentucky, so if you have suggestions, please let me know. Like George said, I was working at Ubisoft for the last 10 years. Actually, last week I left. So I am now no longer in AAA. Nigel told me I should say this. He's like, oh, this is cool. I'm starting next week. I'll be working at Magic Leap, doing augmented reality and mixed reality stuff. Hopefully getting to work on some of the new stuff like the Star Wars theme park at Disney World, and figuring out how we can bring game design to actual, real, physical spaces, which I'm super excited about. So my talk today is kind of a part game design talk and a part technical talk. I'll start off by going over kind of a framework point of view of how you can think of designing systemic gameplay from a programmer perspective and from a game design perspective. Some of the things I'm going to mention at the beginning, a few of you might be like, wow, this sounds really, really basic. Like, this is very simple. But if there's one thing that I've learned over the years from doing, like, small systems to really large-scale systems, like on Assassin's Creed, it's that as game devs, we really like to make shit very, very complicated, all fitting for nothing. And I've realized that over the years, and especially in the last 4 years, I was working on a new IP. A lot of these failed attempts ended up coming together when we cut everything and went back to kind of the basics and trying to think of things in a very simplistic manner. So what does systemic mean, and why should any of us here actually even care? So this quote that I have here, it comes from Elon Musk, and I named my talk based off of this. And this was sometime last year. He gave a talk at the Future for Humanity conference. And they basically said, I generally don't like calling things systems because everything is a system, including your dog, which is true because systems really are everywhere. We see them everywhere in real life. A system can, in fact, be your dog. It can be the atmosphere that we breathe. It's the people that we work with, the food that we eat, the jobs that we do, the people that we love. These are all examples of systems, and pretty much everything and anything can be considered one. So first, what is an actual game system? So systems are basically a set of elements, all with their own sets of inputs and outputs, where the elements in the system influence each other. Basically, think of a system as a bunch of Lego blocks, where everything kind of links together. And developing systems in games is nothing new. I mean, we've been doing this for years. Game developers have been doing combat systems, ecosystems, narrative systems forever. But I would say systemic is kind of this term that we've been hearing a lot in the past couple of years, and it's kind of this trend that we've been seeing a lot in video games. So systemic means there's a link between all of your systems that you've developed in your game. They've been developed and designed with the intention that one can influence the other. A few game examples, okay, the colors aren't so bad, that people have suggested to me or that I would say fall under the systemic kind of category. These are a few of them. I mean, even last night we were trying out Panoramical with Daniel, and this was basically where there's inputs from sound and from the controller that are changing the outputs of the visuals that we're seeing. RimWorld and Dwarf Fortress are probably some really, really great examples of systemic games. And what I like in the case for RimWorld is you're not actually directly controlling the NPCs, you're more setting these very high-level goals, and then all the systems that have been designed are adapting based off of what the player has set. There's different games, like, for example, Kiddens Games is just one of those text-based games. What I loved in this game is when the player actually does nothing for ages, some really interesting stuff happen. And basically the game starts off where the kittens, like their main goal is they need catnip. But I actually let this game run for about a week. I'd gone off to a conference, and when I came back, I had tons of cats that somehow had spawned unicorns, and they were sacrificing the unicorns for their blood to try and get more catnip. And it was funny because it was just all of these inputs and outputs, and I loved this example because I was like, oh wow, this game is getting really fun, and as a player, I did nothing. So I would say for me, a good definition of systemic, also means that all of your systems are interacting with each other. The world is still alive, but even if the player sits back and does nothing, your game should still be running, and there should be these beautiful consequences of things that are happening around you. So why should we even care about developing systems? So a few examples. One, developing smart systems that interact and influence each other can potentially mean tons of opportunities for your players. One interaction with the system can influence many things in your game, and the player will feel like the more that they're actually touching, the more the game is changing around them. Two, having smart systems means crazy shit can occasionally happen, like the sacrificing of unicorns. And this is where the idea of emergent gameplay kind of comes from. Oftentimes we find combinations of interactions when your game is actually shipped that you as the developers didn't even realize could happen, and this is because now you have tons and tons of players that are playing it and trying out all these permutations of interactions, and they're the ones who can see like, oh wow, if I do this and this and this, this is what can happen. Three, investing in developing a very modular framework early on in your development will help you to be able to cut, add, modify things really late in your game. So as producers or even like designers, at the end of your game, you can be like, oh, we want to add something, and you won't have your programmers being like, well, that's too complicated. So it's really good if you do a very simple systemic framework, because you'll be able to keep modifying stuff right until the end before you ship your game. And four, for replayability. Good systemic design means you'll be able to replay with different experiences each time, and normally it doesn't take a huge monster team to be able to develop these systems. So I want to start off by explaining how systems and game objects work together. By the way, I use the word systems. Oh shit, this looks really bad on the projector over there. It's a bit nicer. But I say the word systems so much in this talk, so please never watch this as a drinking game, because this would be very dangerous. So a system basically consists of one or more game objects. Some systems may consist of just themselves. So, for example, let's say all you have is a dog as the only character in your game, then your crowd system consists of just that one game object, and that's okay. But typically a crowd system may have NPCs, animals, and players, and if designed properly, they should all be aware of each other and influence each other's behaviors. Systems basically means that every object in that system should be aware of and interact with each other. And the idea with systemic is to also take the same concept and be sure that all of your high-level systems themselves also interact and influence each other. That way your game feels really alive and actions have consequences across a number of systems. So if I take a concrete example, this just kind of gives you a general idea of maybe these are a bunch of your game objects, and the idea is you want to have as many of these inputs and outputs where multiple things are really influencing different game objects in your world. Systems are comprised of many game objects, and these game objects themselves can be part of more than just that one system. And they're basically, again, connected through a series of inputs and outputs. So if I take this example here, let's say I have a game object that is called a plant. My plant might be part of the atmosphere system, but it's also part of my organic life system, and maybe I've designed plants as well to be toxic or lethal, so I also added it as part of my threat system. From a framework point of view, and this is how we coded things, this is a very high-level view of things. When looking at the anatomy of a game object, there's 4 components that are associated with every game object. There's the visual, there's its sound component, there's the physics component, but the most important part is really the gameplay component. Each gameplay component is split into 3 major sections: the main logic, the optional logic, and the feedback section. The main logic basically looks like a typical UML, and it's very structured in the kind of A inherits from B type of thing, but anything that you're going to put in your main logic is very specific to what you're going to code for that one object. And I would say this is kind of like the evil side of systemic, because anything that is Specific means it's going to be only coded and used for one single object, which is what you don't want for things to be systemic. So your optional logic is actually where you have all your meat of where the systemic interactions come from. This is where you would look at this as pretty much your Lego block. A game object, when we design these, each game object can have multiple optional logics. And when we're doing this, like designing our games, we kind of have this huge sheet that's on the wall that shows all the different optional logics that already exist in the game. So when a new idea comes about, we kind of go to this list and we start saying, okay, does this game object need a nourishment component? Does this game object need a health component? Is it something that the character can pick up? Does it need to be purchasable? So a good way also when we're coming up with something new is, let's say in the case where I have a plant, we might have thought as the plant as needing water for it to grow, but we saw that humans also need food, so what we did was take away from the main logic this very specific code and created something that was more generic called the nourishment component, so that then we were able to add this component, drag and drop it onto multiple objects in the world, and all of them would use the same input, and they would all have the same output. Also to note, feedback is super, super important when you're developing systemic games. For anyone who's developed like full-on games, especially in the AAA space, we tend to see that sound, UI, effects, all of this stuff kind of gets done at the end of your game, and it's really shitty, especially for your artists, because then they're scrambling, and then they're developing this art, which sometimes they're like, this doesn't even fit with what the original game design is. And what we realized when we were doing systemic games is right away when you have a first pass prototype, it's super important to add some form of UI, sound, and feedback to your game object. Because if you're starting to test this, and even you as your own game developer, if you don't understand what the current inputs are, and if you don't understand what the outputs are, then your player is never going to be able to understand anything. And we've realized from doing very early on feedback that this was something where we went, oh wow, when we designed our game objects, these were just way too complex. The players were never able to understand what was happening. So it's super important to do feedback very, very early on, and to always keep this in mind as you're iterating on all your game objects in your world, whenever you're going to add a new input or add a new output to a game object. So, like I said, each input component acts like a game, like a Lego piece, and the idea is that everything has its certain sets of inputs that connect it to other objects with similar outputs. And in turn, it has its own outputs that connects it and serves it as inputs to other objects. Basically, when I'm adding this new optional logic to the gameplay component, it will automatically add all of its needed inputs and outputs. So to see how this is actually working in game, let's say I got a human, I developed my human where it's got the inputs for food and oxygen, it produces as output CO2 in a certain set of actions. In a real world example, I could receive that input from out the atmosphere because the CO2, O2 is produced as output there. I've got trees that also produces oxygen, which serves as inputs to the atmosphere. I might have a vegetable game object in my world, which serves as the food input to the human. But maybe I've got a fire system, and the fire produces an action which will burn the trees, which then stops producing oxygen, so the atmosphere is not getting the needed input anymore. Maybe the burn action is also an input towards my vegetables, which means now the human is not receiving the needed input of vegetables. Or maybe I've designed my human with an action to be able to fight fire. So great, the fire now at that point is no longer burning, so I get back my trees, my vegetables, and everything is good here. But let's say I have another example where there's an animal. The animal, because it shares the same food consumer component as the human, also needs oxygen, which it can get from the atmosphere. It also needs food, so maybe it eats all the vegetables, which means at that point there isn't enough vegetables for the human, but maybe my human I've designed with an action to be able to hunt. So great, there's no more animals, the animals are dead. I might have actually designed my animal to be able to provide an output of food if the animal is in a dead state, so the animal as well can become a food input provider towards the human. But let's say I had this exact same example where I hadn't designed a hunting action for the human. What might happen in my systemic world at this point is the animal eats all the vegetables, the humans no longer have any type of food source, and they don't have the action to hunt the animals. So the humans have to actually leave my game space at that point because the animal is not receiving any of its needed input either. The animals leave, and I'm left with a game space where it's just atmosphere and tree. So doing an example like this, though, is a pain in the ass. There's no way you would want to actually design your game and have all of these PowerPoints where you're doing these input-output boxes of everything, because this would be next to impossible to manage. So there's this really cool tool that we use, and I've done this from smaller games to I've used this tool where I have 500 game objects in my world, and it's called this.js. Okay, not so bad. Basically, this is a visualization of a smaller size game that we worked on, and this shows this is where I could see all my input and output connections. And what's cool is in my legend, basically, I could start filtering out which ones I want to see. So maybe I just activated, I want to see what are the animals interacting with in my game, or maybe I just want to see what food is being interacted with. It's cool because I can zoom into this, and this is just all built on the back end with Excel. So I can actually put what my verbs are as connections between each of my game objects. And then it's super customizable, where I can end up adding filters for anything that I want to be able to see in my game. And instead of having all these huge documents in the world where it would be next to impossible to go in and debug, we use this for any of our actual reviews at work. So the goal with this graph also is really helpful for if I want to add something new to the game. Basically, I might have a new game object, and I start thinking about, well, what is this actually going to interact with? Which connections of inputs and outputs should we add in the game? So instead of looking at it here, I'll go back to this PowerPoint example. So let's say I wanted to add a plant. I hadn't added plants to my game yet. So I start off with this base gameplay component. I add I start thinking about the plant in terms of game design, and I maybe do a little bit of research, and I think okay, I'm going to need CO2, some light, some oxygen, cool. So I start setting up this gameplay component with the needed outputs and inputs. I set up its main component, which is the plant class. I look at what's on my wall in terms of optional logics. I go, cool, I've already got an oxygen provider, I've got a nourishment provider, and in this case, maybe I want it to be pickable, so I add these optional logics, which automatically will add my inputs and outputs. I set up a very basic feedback state so that I could portray to the player what's the health feedback and what's the growth state. So I start seeing now, and this would be what I do in the graph, of what does this actually connect to in terms of other game objects that exist. And cool, I've already got atmosphere, so that can provide me with the needed gas. Maybe I already have a sun component, so this is where my sunlight can come from. But I realized that water was a needed input that I wanted to have, but right now the water input doesn't exist in my game yet. So the thought process here is to start thinking about, is this input something I want to add to my game? So I start thinking of water as a needed input and an output. So I start thinking, well, would it be interesting if I added objects that were maybe oceans, because an ocean can provide as an output for water. Maybe I want to add water bottles, maybe I want to add a rain system, or maybe I want to have wells in my game. I also start thinking about, well, what impacts could water add? Because if the only thing that uses water is plants, maybe that's really way too specific. I really only want to add this new input if other things in my game are going to be able to benefit from this. So I start thinking maybe the organic light, maybe water can also influence the fire system I've already got. Maybe there's temperature, cooking, etc. And all the while thinking about, if I'm going to add this new input, how is the sound effects and UI going to be able to represent this to the game? And if I add this new input, is my game going to be too complex where the player doesn't understand what the hell is happening around them? So this is kind of the thought process in terms of when you're adding something new to your game from a framework point of view. So purely as a recap from the framework, it's good to start thinking about this very generic thing. Like I kept saying inputs, outputs, Lego over and over, but it's very, very simple. And originally when I tried to work on a lot of this stuff, it was doing all these very specific cases and edge cases, but honestly it's doing something very, very simple where you can drag and drop these components that only have inputs and outputs that can be set by the designers. It's good because it allows you to be very flexible and it's easy to iterate, and having that graph is really a good way for me to be able to go back with our programmers and designers and start reviewing what's influencing another thing in my game and kind of seeing all these possibilities for interactions. So sweet, I've got a systemic game. Well, kind of. Actually, what you have is hopefully a great sandbox where the Lego pieces with multiple objects fit together. And it's a nice place to like space. But what you have at this point is probably not a game. You've hopefully made a systemic sandbox where if things work properly, your player is going to feel smart. If you've done things with proper feedback, they'll understand how things are influencing each other under the hood. You'll probably have stuff where the player is like, oh, if I touch this, then like all these things can happen under the hood. But the thing is, there's a very good chance that at this point your game is still not fun. And I've seen this in the past, and I think this is definitely, I would say, a programmer designer kind of pitfall, where you go, oh yeah, under the hood there's all these beautiful things that are happening, and it's very elegant, and I as a developer, know what can happen, but then you put this in the hands of your players, and they go, I understand this, I feel really smart, but I don't want to play your game. It's not fun. What do you do? At this point, it's really good to start analyzing how is your player actually playing your game? What are they doing when they're playing around in this sandbox? It's good to start seeing what are the tools that you provided to your players? What are the actual interactions that you've developed to allow your player to play with all of these systems you've developed? And what are basically your core gameplay verbs that already exist based off this system's interactions? So, yes. So, when you start thinking about your tools and your interactions and how does your player play the game, this is going to go back into this graph again. And what we did was to start trying mapping out what are the actual tools that I have and which game objects does it actually touch and interact with in my game. Looking at this purely for visualization purposes, I find having a bunch of these cross-matrices, again, sorry, color better over there, but having these cross-matrices is really good to start having at least a first-level perspective of what's happening in terms of the interactions in your game. So the idea is to see what the intended interaction between, say, game object A and game object B would be. And I do tons of these cross-matrices between what are your ingredients, what are your tools, what are the NPC interactions, etc. So in this first cross-matrix, I want to identify what are the current verbs in the game. And basically, by doing this cross-matrix, I can start seeing, are there any verbs that are too specific? For example, have I designed some tools where the only thing that's happening across the board is kill, 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 kill? I would say that a good example of a game that I think that I actually am not a big fan of in terms of systemic design is Watch Dogs. Because they designed their game to be fully systemic, with hacking, with killing, where you can interact with a lot of their different systems. But when you actually do a cross-matrix of seeing what happens, killing happens everywhere. And the gun tool that they've developed is so powerful that it made it where players actually didn't care about using the hacking mechanic in that game. So I think it's really interesting to start going in and start seeing, is there anything that is either too overpowered or is there any tool that is too underpowered? And it helps you to start balancing the types of verbs and actions that exist in your game. Next, we start doing this as well with our tools and start seeing, are there any tools that are not interacting enough with the systems in my game? So maybe I start adding more tools into my game and start coming up with what are the actual interaction verbs that happen. I see in this example that when I did this, there was actually no tool that interacted with my atmosphere system, which makes me start to think, is the atmosphere system too invisible to the player? Is it not fun enough for the player? Is there something that we should be changing in the design so that my tools can actually influence the atmosphere system? I also start seeing that there's a bunch of blanks in my Cross-Matrix, which makes me start thinking, well, should I be cutting this? Should I be adding more designs, etc.? But what I realized is before taking any of this like Cross-Matrix interactions too far, this is a really good time to start getting your narrative people involved. And this morning we were talking about context and kind of story, and I feel that this is a really good time to start adding story into your game, because this is where you might end up finding more iterations that you can use with your system. So basically, this is where an example where I sent off my Cross-Matrix. I didn't even tell the game design to some of like my narrative people, and I was like, come up with some crazy story. What would happen when my cutting tool interacts with the vegetable? Or what happens when like a rope interacts with the animals? And they started coming up with these fun kind of player stories, not knowing what the actual pure game design was for this. So if I take an example here, the cutting tool that interacts with the water, I can cut other objects like grass and wood to craft a raft to travel on water, and maybe I can also craft shelter for myself and others. Maybe my digging tool, what happens when that interacts with animals? I can use my digging tool as a weapon. Also, if I wanted, maybe I could actually bury the dead. Maybe this could actually help fertilize the soil, which was interesting in the original design, was just that the digging tool of animals meant killing, but there was nothing in there about what would happen if I dug out the soil and actually decided to bury the animal. If I take another example, the rope and bucket, what happens when it interacts with fire? I can grab water with my bucket to stop the fire, but I could also use the rope to burn from one place to another if I want the fire to spread. So the interesting thing with doing these player stories is that some of the tools that we might have thought were not as useful ended up being really interesting when you start thinking of the kind of mixed interactions. And what happened is by doing this player story, it started identifying new verbs, new actions, new tools, and new things that we can add to the game design. So basically, finding the fun side is really like this iterative process. We started off by doing the framework side of things, and then by doing this cross-matrix and getting the narrative involved for doing these player stories, we started being able to identify what are the verbs, what are the tools, and being able to constantly go back, find new ideas, and iterate. And because the framework is so simple, we were easily able to add more and more opportunities into this. So at this point, after many rounds of iterations, you should have systems that provide lots of opportunities that are well designed with good feedback. The player should feel smart, and there's tools and interactions that provide hours of gameplay to the player. But still, there's something that's missing. So you want to start thinking about how do these things impact the actual game world? Is there some meaningful consequences to the player's actions in your game for the long term versus just the short term? So a few things to consider is what are your extremities when you're designing your systems? Can a system overtake and influence something to be potentially extinct in your world? Is this something that you actually want to be able to allow the player to do? Basically, do we plan to start setting a bunch of constraints on a given system? Because if yes, then maybe your player is going to feel super cheated by this. And maybe it's not worth investing so much time in a system if you plan to be able to put all these constraints right from the beginning. The player should feel that they're able to take your system to these crazy extremes. So again, I go back to this cross-matrix, and I start mapping out what happens when a system can potentially become extinct, what happens when that system can go to crazy extremes, and I also start thinking about what's a potential player story. I'd like to think that maybe Skyrim took this kind of approach when developing their mechanics. So there's a bunch of mechanics in Skyrim that don't support the typical Dragonborn fantasy. A friend of mine told me that when she was playing Skyrim, the only thing she wanted to do was collect all of the books in the world and basically bring them back to her house and alphabetize them. And basically, she told me that all she wanted to do was have the biggest book collection that existed in Skyrim. And I'd like to think that when they were coming up with all of their mechanics, someone had maybe not said exactly that for fantasy, but had said, you know what, someone might play this and think that this is absolutely crazy. So before we cut this possible mechanic of being able to place my objects on a bookshelf, which in no way supports the Dragonborn fantasy, someone had said this could be a potential really cool player fantasy. So in my basic little game example, I thought about the vegetable system. And one of my writers came up with the player fantasy of perhaps I want to allow the player to become the pumpkin king or queen in my game. That the person's town is the one having the most pumpkins in that world, and maybe we can actually create this kind of fun NPC attractor where a bunch of NPCs come to my town every Halloween. So this might not have anything to do with your game, but it was a very funny player fantasy that had to do with just the vegetable system. If I take my NPCs, we start thinking about, like, well, do I actually want to allow it where someone can kill off every single NPC in my game? Maybe they want to have it where they start breeding a bunch of, like, really dangerous animals that kill every character. Do we want to allow it so that the player is the only human in the game? Maybe. And we start thinking as well, do we want to allow it where we can allow tons and tons of NPCs to breed? If this was The Sims, maybe this is something where you have to start thinking about more my small little farm towns that I develop. Maybe I need a mechanic to allow these to become skyscrapers, because I actually want to allow my player to have thousands and thousands of characters in my game. And then this just shows the atmosphere system. We couldn't think of anything. This is where we were like, well, if there's not enough oxygen, everyone dies. If there's too much oxygen, everyone dies. In the player fantasy, what did we already identify this as boring? We should practice at this point. So the idea of the player random stories is to help identify the fun between the systems and mechanics that the player has, while adding depth to the systems and game to provide more opportunities to the players. Having the player's actions affect the world makes the player feel agency. While having fun and feeling smart, they'll feel like they're controlling their actions and that their actions actually have some form of long-term consequence to the game. Their actions actually mean something. So what about AI and NPCs? We talked about gameplay, systems, tools, interactions, but how does AI kind of fit into all of this? Do we need them, and what role do they actually play? So I would say this is a really interesting one, because I'd say, in my opinion, AI plays a very, very important role in systemic games, but in my opinion, I think that a lot of games have been going about doing this in a very bad way. If I have a little rant right now about AI technology in general, it's funny because when a new game is being developed, let's say we told the graphics programmer, let's just copy-paste the tech that we did from a graphics game 10 years ago, they would laugh. And they would say, are you crazy? But in AI technology, we've kind of been doing the same thing and using state charts and behavior trees, and the actual tech for AI has not really changed too much in the past 10 years, which personally for me has pissed me off a lot. So in a systemic game, I think the role of our NPCs are super, super important. One, your NPCs should kind of be your salespeople for your systems. Because maybe you have actually developed a very complex systemic game, and it's going to take a while for the player to understand and realize all the opportunities that are developed all around them. So your NPCs should kind of be like the salespeople being like, hey, here's this really cool opportunity, come and you can maybe do this. So the AI for the NPCs is that they need to be aware of your world state. And this is where the tech for AI needs to be kind of different, because you're not scripting behaviors, because you don't actually know what your world state is going to look like, because your world is constantly changing around you. So basically your NPCs need to have purpose, they need to have goals, and should be able to interact with everything that exists in your game. This is very, just a bit, whoa. So very briefly on the technical side, I won't go into the details of this, but goal-oriented planning and HTM planners is something that's really interesting for systemic games. Basically, the idea with this is you're not actually scripting exactly all the behaviors for the AIs in your game. You're setting very, very high-level goals, almost like in RunWorld or in Dwarf Fortress. And basically, with this AI approach, the characters are able to build an actual set of tasks to figure out how do they accomplish this. This is actually something that we're seeing a lot on the indie side of things, and it's funny because AAA is not touching this too much, and I really hope that they do. So this is for your own self, like look up about Gobe and HTM. It's a really interesting way of doing AI, and I think that this is exactly how we should be developing our AIs to be able to work in a systemic world, because your characters are constantly going to be adapting and changing based off of your world state instead of having characters that are very pre-scripted to do a certain set of actions. So cool, you have NPCs with purpose that are aware of your world, they're giving opportunities to your players. So congratulations, you get a systemic game of opportunities that are fun, the player feels their actions mean something, NPCs help make the world feel rich and alive, but there's one very small thing left before I finish. We've talked about all these mechanics tools, NPCs, and iterating to make fun worlds with a lot of depth, but there's still one very big reason to talk about why any of this is important. Why do we want to make systemic games, and why aren't we just doing the typical linear games? So my little what the fuck side is Westworld. And I'll say that last year I discovered the answer to this why when I started watching this show. And basically on the second episode of Westworld, there was this really great moment where Anthony Hopkins basically started yelling at his narrative designer. And he basically gave this beautiful speech that I felt was the exact reason of why I think open world and why systemic games are very important. And he had said, it's not about giving the gamers what you think they want, the killing, the garish things, etc. They don't actually want that. They come back to the game for the subtleties, the details that they imagine nobody has noticed before, something that they've fallen in love with. They are not looking for a story that tells them who they are. They already know who they are. They are here because they want a glimpse of who they could become. When I read this, I felt like, well, this describes exactly what I want to do with games. It describes exactly the type of game I want to be making and the type of game I want to play. And to me, this describes exactly a very well-designed systemic game. I don't want to play a game that thinks that they already know who I am. I want to play a game that lets me play it the way that I want to. And I want to play a game that has lots of opportunities that make me go, oh, hey, I actually want to do this over here. Thank you, NPC, for showing me this. I want to do this. But I also want to play a game where I see opportunities and I go, I don't want to do that. And thank you, game, you're not forcing me to do this opportunity and this action. I get to choose what I want to do. So when I saw that scene from Westworld, I felt that it had some great takeaways. One, players want to feel like they've experienced something that others did not have found, something unique for them, which you can't get out of a linear game. This is stuff that you get out of purely, truly systemic open games. Two, the opportunities created are for a very diverse audience because you're not designing it just around one player fantasy. Three, you should stop developing games for just one type of person and one player in mind. And I really find by having this iterative process where you're coming up with your player stories that allow for different experiences and that interest a diverse audience, well then that games or mechanics and systems should also be supporting this. Not everyone wants to play a game where the sole goal is to be the hero, like my friend who liked to collect cozy books. She didn't want to be the Dragonborn, she wanted to be the kind of librarian. So it's really good to have tons of these player stories and player fantasies. Keep developing these throughout your process. Go back, iterate, find new verbs, find new gameplay mechanics, and then go back to your framework and add this new gameplay object. It's kind of this very simple process of being able to keep iterating and thinking about having a very wide and diverse type of game. So the reason I picked this quote from Elon Musk at the beginning is because to me he's this futurist. I'm like this big fangirl of Elon Musk. And what I love is whenever I hear a talk from him, he's always talking about the optimism of this craft. And for me, whenever I like to give tech talks or diversity talks, I talk about the future of games and how I can't wait until we start putting all this machine learning in, where it's like I'm learning about my players and the game is adapting and basically giving me what I want and giving you what you want. But until we get to that point, I think that we should really be pushing on this systemic design and designing around a very wide space of different player stories and player opportunities so that you can go into the game and play the way you want, and I can go into the game and play the way I want. So as a recap from today, test your systems, test your opportunities, test your player stories, test your verbs, iterate, develop AI that has purpose, and that is basically the people showing off what you can actually do in your game. Test this with a very diverse audience because you can. And if you need to, go back to the beginning, add new things, add new inputs and outputs, and change stuff. And if you don't, and that is kind of the point of doing a systemic game. Systems are everywhere, they provide endless opportunities, now let's use them so we can make games for everybody. Thank you.